Hey folks, really quickly, this episode is made possible by support from our friends at the Urban Lounge. Check out their website, theurbanloungeslc.com. Follow them on Facebook and Twitter. Check out all the bands that are going to be coming there in the very near future. Also, this episode of the podcast is made by support from Peach Treats, custom ear art, whether you have gauged ears or not gauged ears. There's something for everybody. Check out the Etsy shop, peachtreats.etsy.com. Custom ear art made right here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Thanks for the support, Peach Treats and Urban Lounge. Now on with the podcast.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
I want to give you guys a nice big welcome to the I Am Salt Lake podcast. This is episode 132. My name is Chris Hollifield. I am your host here. Welcome to my show, however you're listening to it. If this is your first time listening, thank you so much for joining me. You might want to check out the website at iamsaltlake.com, where you can browse through the back catalog and check out some of the conversations that I've had with people here in Salt Lake City, some of the locals, people here that are making Salt Lake City just a little bit better, like I like to say. Trevor J. Dopp joins me on this episode of the podcast. He's a local artist from Salt Lake City. You might remember him if you've been listening to the podcast for a while. He joined me on episode 42 with a couple other local artists. If you haven't had an opportunity to listen to that episode, you can find that at on the website at iamsaltlake.com/42. Download it, stream it right from the podcast. However, he joined me for that episode, but I wanted to bring him back and find out a little bit more about him, find out what makes him tick and what inspires him to be an artist. So he's on this episode. I'm going to be playing that interview in just a second. Also, you might remember from episode 126, when I had Dusk Raps on the podcast, he mentioned Trevor because he did the artwork for his most recent EP, that the Coffin Lid single EP. He did the artwork for that EP. And so I figured, well, shoot, this is a sign. This means I need to bring Trevor on the podcast and sit down with him and chat with him. And I had a really great conversation with Trevor. And I'm going to be actually playing a song, another track of Dusk Raps at the very end of this podcast. So you're going to want to make sure to stay tuned for that. A couple of things I want to get out of the way before we jump into that conversation. The voting for the Best of Utah Awards with City Weekly is still going on. It's actually going on through February the 28th. Voting closes at midnight. If you type into your web browser iamsaltlake.com/cityweekly, that will forward you to the reader's ballot. Under Best Local Podcast, just type in I Am Salt Lake. It would mean a lot to me, and I'd love you guys forever. And anyways, I mean, there's a lot of great categories on there. Cast your vote. A lot of really great local restaurants and people that deserve your vote. So head on over to iamsaltlake.com/cityweekly, and that'll take you to the ballot where you can cast your votes for people in local businesses that you feel deserves Best of Utah Awards. Also, if you're listening to this this upcoming Saturday, February the 22nd, I'm going to be a guest on a brand new show, Zero Internal Compass. They're on KU Radio. They're up at the University of Utah. You'll be able to stream that at kuradio.org. I'll be on Saturday, February the 22nd at 10 a.m. So you're going to want to make sure to tune into that. That way you can listen to me on their show as I get interviewed and talking about the I Am Salt Lake podcast. Again, follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Just search for I Am Salt Lake. I'll keep you guys up to date on all of those events and where I'm the next podcast that I'm going to be a guest on and all that good stuff. Just search for I Am Salt Lake on Facebook, and then it's just Twitter at I Am Salt Lake. Anyways, with all that being said, let's quit the talking. Let's jump into the conversation that I had with Trevor J. Dopp as he came over to my downtown apartment here in beautiful downtown Salt Lake City. You know, you were on I went back to episode 42 when you were on for the very first time. We vaguely chatted. But now I kind of want to, jump in to find out a little bit more about your history. So what got you interested in creating art? Like, let's start there. Like, how old were you when you started creating art and drawing and painting? And
well, my mom's a potter,
Like with pottery?
Yeah, she makes pottery. And my dad had built her a little studio right off of the house I grew up in. And I mean, some of my first memories are thinking it was really cool what she did.
So did she do that for a living then, or was that kind of a hobby of hers?
No, I mean, she shows at galleries and things. People buy her stuff, but it wasn't
Still she does?
Yeah.
Here in Salt Lake?
No, on Oahu now. So she has galleries in Honolulu.
Now, did you grow up there in Honolulu, or where did you grow up?
She did. She's a military brat. I grew up, I was born here and grew up in South Dakota and Wyoming, like right on the border of South Dakota in the Black Hills.
So probably two of the oddest states to grow up in my opinion, South Dakota and Wyoming. I mean,
the Black Hills, though, it's kind of like mini Wasatch terrain-wise, and then there's lots of prairie. It's beautiful, but it was weird to grow up there.
And how old were you when you were living in those states?
Just right before I turned 1 to 18, and then I left a couple weeks after I graduated high school.
And came back to Salt Lake? Oh,
no, I moved to Oregon and California, and then here, and then back to California. And I've been here full-time since 2006. So 7 years now. And I've had a studio at the Guthrie building is where I make art. For 5 years, I left for a year and had a studio at Captain. That's how I met Meg.
And what type of mediums do you work with? I know we probably talked about that in the last time you were on the podcast, but I mean, describe your art a little bit. I mean, how would you describe it?
It's like rap-influenced Picasso ripoffs, mostly.
Rap-influenced Picasso ripoffs. That's an interesting. I mean, you definitely have a very unique. I mean, would you say rap inspires you? I mean, with your art then, or what?
Well, most certainly, I like to kind of over-intellectualize ignorant rap. But I mean, maybe that's not the right word. I feel like some of the really ignorant rap music that's pretty aggressive is, I don't know, a lot of the content is pretty negative as far as its impact, as far as on society. But a lot of these rappers that are rapping like this because there's like a formula. I mean, it's like any game, I guess. But all these kids are super, super smart. So I kind of like to pick the intellectual parts out of that, but still acknowledge that it's blood diamonds.
And then put it into a piece of art or a painting.
No, yeah, I mean reappropriating certain lyrics, but I like wordplay a lot, so I'll change the context of what the lyric means, juxtaposing it with imagery. I was more limited. I mean, I just painted and made drawings and things and up until 3 years ago. And Copper Palate Press invited me to join their collective and teach me how to print. And so lately I've been incorporating screen printing onto my panels and canvas a lot.
So some of your art onto T-shirts?
No, I'll build up backgrounds. I'll still make paintings. I make T-shirts and things too. I'll print. If anybody wants anything printed, I'm a commercial screen printer.
So you can make some T-shirts up.
Absolutely.
Like I've been wanting to make some T-shirts up for the podcast, man. Like I'll
give you a reasonable price.
You'll give me a reasonable price. No, I mean seriously, we'll have to talk about this sometime. I
mean, those guys gave me an education that they got in 4 and 5 years at the university and taught me everything they knew in an environment that was super conducive for how I can learn.
And for people listening, you hear Copper Palate Press, you hear the name around town, around Salt Lake. What exactly is Copper Palate Press? I mean, since we're on that subject.
Yeah, Copper Palate Press is it's a collective of independent artists, and we share a space that's behind the downtown Estee and Feist, behind the Guthrie building.
It's where the old Moroccan used to be there. Back in the day, you went there for Red Benny's shows and.
100. It was gone by the time I got back here.
Yeah,
but I've heard legendary stories.
Oh, it's a beautiful place to go to for live music.
I feel like it's still a super safe bohemian zone back there. You can kind of dip back, and it's a different world a little bit.
A lot of people, I like to go back there and get photos of all the graffiti and all the artwork back there on the walls. So anyways, it's just a collective of individuals.
Yeah, and most of them have an educational background in printmaking. We do letterpress, relief printing, and screen printing there. But these guys taught me how to print, and I'm able to supplement my income now because of skills they've taught me. It's been a great environment.
Is that a pretty tough thing to learn, printing?
I mean, yeah,
how hard was it for you to learn how to do that?
It was hard for me.
Because it's different than just getting a pen out.
Super chaotic painting. You can have 5 or 6 things going at once in a huge mess, and you don't have to have a plan necessarily. You just have to be dancing. Being able to improvise is an asset of painting. But printmaking, if you haven't planned out the entire process, you don't know that you ruined 100 prints. That's 5 layers. 3 layers in is when you realize it. I mean, you have to be so meticulous and process-oriented steps, start to finish.
And you printed for like some local businesses, bands, stuff like that? I
started out just making every mistake you could. And then I was printing my own things, and Brian Taylor was one of the founding members that moved to Portland, and he moved back. And a painterly chaos in a print shop causes, that's tragedy of the commons, 100. And
describe like
why is
that?
A painterly mentality in a print shop puts everybody on edge, because I'm really good at externalizing my internal creativity, and like it could take over every free table. And these guys like everything pretty neat, and it has to be with 10 people working there.
So the rest of them, they're not all necessarily artists or painters?
No, they're definitely artists. It's just a different
type of art.
Printmakers are a very unique, I guess,
breed of people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, their attention to detail is impeccable, and their ability to see something finished before it started. I mean, they're turning themselves into machines, and you can see the hand in every print. There's this tactile thing about it that sets it apart from something that's been digitally printed. I mean, the Brian said, "I'll teach you how to be a printer," and taught me how to be a printer.
And how did you? So you met up with Brian, and that's kind of where. I mean, how did you meet up with him then?
He moved back. He moved back from Portland, and sort of took over the day-to-day things at the shop. Cameron.
But how did you guys meet? Like, where did
I met because I'd become a member of the shop while he was away.
And how did you become a member of the shop? Like just through friends? Or?
No, Tyler Densley and I had done a show there. They invited us to come just guest print, and they sort of, excuse me,
they liked what you did.
Well, yeah, but then they said, we'll just show you how to print, and they held our hands through it. But by the end of the 3 or 4 days that we printed together and had a show, you know, they just liked the way that they liked our style or moves. And so they said, "Do you want to join up?" And we were like, "Yeah, for sure."
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, I remember now. I remember when we talked about Tyler, old friend. I mean, you guys have been friends for quite a while, you and Tyler, huh?
Yeah, we met right when he moved here from San Diego, and yeah, he's one of my best homies.
Yeah, great tattoo artist. I mean, it's
just a super ethical, well-rounded, hardworking dude. I mean, his printmaking is as meticulous as his tattoos are.
Now let's go back to your art, mate. When you create art, you mentioned it's a little more chaotic. Like, so your studio, would you say that's typical with artists? That it's a little more just, I mean, describe your space a little bit. Do you kind of thrive off of chaos when you create?
I do, and I know others who do, but I know other painters who don't. My next door neighbor mops his floor multiple times a week and stresses out if things are out of order. And as long as I kind of know where things are, I like to tidy up when I'm done working, but I like to have 4 or 5 paintings going on both sides of my studio and just sort of walk around and work on things as bodies of work.
Do you think that's just how? Do you think some people's brain just works better that way? Is that kind of how?
Well, I mean, yeah, my process is definitely a function of how my mind works. I know that there's other people who, I mean, there's an academic way to make art, and certain technical skills are way necessary. But I like to see artists whose art is a reflection of how their mind works, because how the mind works is interesting to me.
So somebody could look at a piece of your art and kind of get into your brain a little bit.
No, maybe not necessarily at the end. To me, the end point, I want them to get into their brains. I want it to be genuine enough that it invokes a thoughtful state in their mind, because I could never explain why I put that image to
in a certain
it's
place.
More personal if it's about a feeling.
Yeah.
Like if I do something because I felt one way, or say I make an image that's about a situation that I overcame, I don't want it to be that self-indulgent. I want to turn that idea of what I was thinking about into this thing that resonates with everybody. And even if it's not that same instance, someone has felt something.
So you feel it's okay to, they can interpret it
however
individually.
I want them to be moved by it.
Yeah.
Because to me, if I see a piece of art, it moves and it breathes, or it doesn't. And it's a really weird line, and there's a million ways to execute it.
In your opinion, what's the worst part about being an artist? Or is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, that's a loaded question, maybe.
So there's nothing that...
No, I mean, my mom, everybody's moms was always right when they said you're going to be hungry if you try to be an artist. And so many people aren't willing to... There's a lot of people who would love to be artists, and the cool thing about the art hustle is that it rewards hard work and tenacity. And yeah, the worst part is sometimes not knowing how you're going to eat that day.
And on that same note, what would you say the best part about being an artist?
Sometimes you don't know when you're going to eat that day. It's exciting. No, that was a joke.
No.
The best thing is that historically artists have been able to live their lives in a pretty free way, at least when compared to societal restrictions. But their minds are still valued and have the possibility to change the direction of future generations.
Do you believe that you can change people's minds through your art?
I don't think I can, but I think responsibly and thoughtfully putting images out that people are going to see in a lot of different contexts, I think that's for sure.
Gonna make people think.
Probably not in my lifetime, but every artist wants to make those 5 or 6 images that last, and then some kid who's young enough to make change might see it and say, "Whoa."
What are your thoughts on the local art scene here in Salt Lake? Do you think it's I mean,
I think ever since I first since I wanted to be a part of it, in the beginning versus now, there's something going on. I think that Salt Lake is a great place to live and make art, because the cost of living gives you ample free time. I mean, it frees up your time, and that's the most important asset an artist could have.
And people here are pretty supportive too, as well.
Definitely.
When you say of creativity,
the art market isn't great. I'm lucky to make prints, and I can make ends meet because I don't have to charge prices making paintings is pretty labor and time intensive, and you can't sell them at a discount because you might have spent the last 2 months making a painting. You can't sell it for less than 2 months' wages, I guess.
Now, can people buy, like here in Salt Lake, is there a place to purchase it, or do you sell it online at all, or just at your shows? Or
both. I have shows, and usually they're up we always have an opening night, and people can come by that or anything I've done there, or in the days after. And also I'll have a big cartel. Big cartel is, you can order.
So you have a Big Cartel website?
Yeah, it's trevorjdopp.bigcartel.com.
And I'll get that link up on the on the website.
It's in my bio on my Instagram. I usually, most every new print or painting I'm working on, I post it on Instagram.
Do you think Instagram's a good market to for artists
for selling screen prints or T-shirts, or it's definitely good. It's definitely good because you can post a picture of something cool that you can sell for $20 because you made 40 of them. And that's an instant enough price that I sell prints from Instagram quite often.
Now, I couldn't find you on Facebook. You're not on Facebook,
I don't do Facebook.
Kind of personal reasons? Or?
Well, I tried to remain Facebook free, and then they released Instagram for Android, and I got on it, and 3 days later, Mark Zuckerberg paid $1 billion for Instagram or something. So I always joked that it took Zuckerberg $1 million to get me back on Facebook.
But you're not on Facebook, though. You don't think Facebook would be a good market for your art?
Well, it's just overwhelmed. I don't want to have to wade through all of the bullshit that they make you wade through. Instagram is the most stripped down version of Facebook for someone who's trying to make a commodity out of things that are visual.
The only thing I don't like about Instagram, though, is I wish there was a way to actually click, like if you posted one of your pieces of art, you could click on a link right there and it would take you, say, to your big cartel store. You have to go to your
Dusk
bio.
Dusk always says just click on my bio, and Dusk does pretty good like that.
Yeah. Now you brought up Dusk. So let's actually talk about...
he drives a Ferrari, right?
He drives a Ferrari? Yeah. For real?
Dusk Big Stunner.
I had Dusk recently on the show, and his recent EP, you actually did the art for that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which I was really stoked when I found out about that. I mean, how did that come about? I know Dusk kind of talked about it a little bit on the episode with him.
We met we were interested in making drawings together, and it was we never talked about music or anything like that. It was an art thing, and so we hung out and we were drawing together pretty casually, pretty frequently, and sometimes we'd collaborate on some mixed media stuff where we'd print and draw on it. And then he said he was getting back into doing some music and was dropping this. It's just 2 songs, and he said he'd done most of the artwork for his stuff and wanted to do something different, and he just said he liked most of the stuff I did. And it was really cool.
And he just kind of gave you free rein to
do whatever you want, and don't even tell me till I pick it up because I trust you. And it's really nice. Maybe that's the best thing about being an artist is if you keep your artistic integrity and are careful about the clients you choose, then it's a dream job, because you end up with you're probably not making as much as people who are taking whatever clients come around, but I see people jump through hoops just to get $1. I'm not, I was hungry long enough, having never sold anything, making it every day, that I'm willing to keep the rations slim if I have to keep my artistic integrity.
Because you're living. Would you say you're living your dream?
I would say I'm living my dream 100%, and I'd say that if someone's given the opportunity to do that, then it's their responsibility to keep it real. It's just I hate seeing people's voices get bigger, and then their opinions of their trust in themselves changes because they hear more input than when they put something out. And pretty soon they're making paintings thinking about what people might want to buy instead of doing it from the place that makes it moving.
What advice would you give somebody who maybe has like a hobby or a passion? It doesn't even need to be art. Maybe they're, into writing or, whatever, making clothes, art, whatever, music. And they're like, this is what I want to do for a living. I mean, what advice would you give them? Because normal society says, go out and get that 9-to-5 job. That's how you need to live, and that's how you need to, that's the only way you're going to be secure. So we're constantly brainwashed. So what advice would you give people? To live
don't just always get a second opinion, and always seek out. I mean, it's kind of a cliche that everybody says everybody needs to travel, but even if you're traveling to different subcultural places within your own downtown, you gotta see that the way that they've always told you to live your life is only one way of so many ways to live life.
Live life how you want to live it. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
people can't make you live it a certain way.
They can if what you want is something that somebody can keep from you if you don't live your life a certain way. I mean, I don't have a lot of nice things, but I like spending my time making things.
Well, I mean, I
just don't have, my entertainment budget isn't gigantic.
Well, it goes back to that saying, your things will own you.
Yeah.
If the people, we get into debt and we get into credit card debt. Oh yeah, and then fancy houses.
You wear it on your face because you're in too deep. And
I know I found myself at certain times in my life where it's like, gosh, I've spending way too much money.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried that life too. I value the quality of my life and I guess the fact that my voice has credibility in this life. If someone just really likes making art, make art. Yeah. If you're happier, it's not easy. I know I'm not trying to glorify the struggle or anything, but
it's part of life though,
What happens is you end up with a bunch of other people who believe the same thing. And you kind of you find a tribe when that's the choice you make. And if somebody has one thing and the other guy has something else, then you have dinner. I mean, everybody looks out for each other, which is good because everybody sees what people are trying to do and they respect that and know that it's important that everybody keeps doing it. The amount of healthy competition and just exchange of ideas that are critically real. And I mean, that's the thing that working with 10 people in a 500 square foot place.
And then you're talking about the Copper Palate.
Copper Palate, yeah.
Besides art, what would you say, what do you like about living in Salt Lake? I mean, besides the art community, what are some other things you like about living here?
I mean, the mountains are an obvious draw. I moved out here. I wanted to be a pro snowboarder.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you still get out and snowboard?
I go 2 or 3 times a year now. It's pretty expensive.
It is. That's why I
used to have work all summer and then buy a pass and just shred bum it. And it was cool. I was going to college out here too. I did an exchange from University of Wyoming to University of Utah and just never left.
So you wanted to be a pro snowboarder.
Yeah.
So you were pretty good at it. I mean, you were pretty good.
I mean,
or was that just kind of in the back of your head as a dream?
I was good at, I had regional sponsorships.
Okay.
And my equipment was all paid for and things, but I never made money snowboarding.
So
I was good, but
why didn't you keep doing it? Why did you stop?
I got injury. I mean, I broke my foot and collarbone in the same year, just trying to be at the level it took to get to the next level.
And you were just enough's
enough. Well, and
enough.
then you'd see people. It's such a short-lived career because your body can only take so much. And then you see kids not go to school or not plan for life after this 8-year career. And I just didn't, and it was a little hard for me that you'd see people go for incredibly insane things and pay the price and then get dropped from their sponsors. And when their knees weren't healthy, they weren't making money for the company. And I didn't want to be a billboard with bad knees.
Have you gotten out much this year then, or no?
I've been one time and it's super fun. Snowboarding is one of the most beautiful connective things.
If you could change anything about Salt Lake, let's say you had the opportunity to change something about Salt Lake, what would Trevor change in general? Not even necessarily in the art.
I could change it, but it wouldn't affect anything that it is now.
Sure. I mean, obviously it's hypothetical.
That's impossible, but
it's all hypothetical.
I'd put it within 15 minutes of the ocean, of a good wave. If I could surf every day, I'd live here forever.
So you're a pretty big surfer then?
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Were you any good at it? Like any good at?
Well,
What's the biggest wave you ever caught?
oh, I don't know. Double overhead. I had some good sessions with double overhead. Mushy though, not. Surfing's weird. It's so much about this fluid interaction with the ocean environment. Just riding the waves is just a small portion of the surfing experience because the ocean's so dynamic that conditions can change extremely quickly, and the same spot that you go surf every day can look 100 different ways based on storms that have happened and pushed sand onto the bottom, and it changes the face of the wave, and swells come from thousands of miles away, and if they got in a choppy spot here, they're going to look different when they get here. But that's it always was appealing surfing to me. You're riding this physical manifestation of a wave of energy. It's moving through the water, and it's come from so far and will bounce off and go somewhere else until it runs out of energy. And it's cool I like kind of old school style surfing where you're staying in the pocket of the wave, which is the most energetically abundant. It's the spot of the wave where you can actually get in a spot where the wave will hold the tail of your surfboard down. That's what a hang 10 is. You're at the very front of the surfboard and it feels like you're flying. It's just so cool.
See, and I grew up right on the ocean there in Ventura, California there, and I never did the boogie boarding, never got out and surfed. But let's say, again, this is hypothetical, you were given a free plane ticket, but you had to depart within the next 30 minutes. Where would you go, and what would you do there?
Oh, I'd go visit my mom's and pops.
Out in Hawaii?
Mm-hmm. I'd go surf.
Do you make it out to Hawaii much then to visit them?
I eat steak plates from Oniava Market. I go once a year for about a month and a half, which is really nice. It's hard it's weird only seeing your family once a year and then seeing them for an extended amount of time when you see them. But it's cool. I feel like we know each other fairly. It's cool to get to know my family now that we're all adults. I'm the oldest of 5, and the youngest is now 20.
When you're older, it's like you appreciate family a little bit more, I think, than when you're younger.
Yeah, and you understand where the little quirks in your character come from.
Do you have any family here in Salt Lake then?
Yeah, I have a brother. The brother closest to me, we're a year and a half apart.
He lives here in Salt Lake?
Yeah, we live close. And he does film production and works really hard. And he's super talented. He's at Weeblo Hash Browns on Instagram.
To check him out and
single and handsome.
Look at that. You're hooking him up on a date. Now, earlier, a little bit ago, we were talking about Dusk Raps and how you did the artwork for his most recent release. You briefly mentioned you're making some beats for him. Do you want to talk about?
We're just working on we're working on a just low key and just a music project together.
Okay.
So I'm not making beats for him. We're just doing like
something else,
music thing together.
Do you want to talk about that at all?
Well,
like what it
called
is?
Hype Pals. Hashtag Hype Pals. I'm sure if you want to get on your Nancy Drew or Hardy Boys tip, we're trying to get it going.
So is it you making the music and then him rapping, or
no, we're both
what?
making the beats and we'll both be rapping. Rap's been a hobby of mine for a while.
You any good at it?
After a gallery stroll, we always have a thing called the Rap Realms, and it's just like a faded cipher. Everybody freestyles. I don't know. It's not.
See, this is something I didn't know about you, Trevor. I didn't know you freestyled.
It's not like I don't know. It's art. It's poetry, rhythm and poetry more than rap. But yeah. I mean, I like it. My mom was always. I took piano lessons and was in band and choir. Music's always been important.
So
I was in a punk rock band in 8th grade. I played drums.
What was the name of the band?
It was called, we changed our name a bunch of times and never actually recorded.
But this wasn't here in Salt Lake or Utah or anything? No.
It was in the same town that this band called the Lillingtons.
That name rings a bell.
Yeah, they ended up being Lookout Record darlings, I think. But
yeah,
those were the dudes we looked up. I remember being on the bus, and I was in 8th grade and 7th grade even, and they were juniors and seniors, and I'd see them walk by and jock their style so hard. And they recorded at this a radio station that closed down in this 100-year-old building. And it was so cool. And the drummer, Tim, was an Eagle Scout. And I was working on my Eagle badge, so I was way hyped. There was a cool punker that...
Did you get your Eagle Scout?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Got it tatted on my arm.
For real?
Yeah, check it.
As he's showing me his Eagle Scout. Dude, that is actually a really rad tattoo. The Scout symbol. What is that called? The three fingers?
It's a Scout symbol.
The Scout symbol. That's actually a pretty dope tattoo. That's one thing I wish I would have got was my Eagle Scout. I never got it. Did the whole scouting thing, but let's say you could have any job that you wanted for just one day.
I got it.
A different job. Like just for a day.
I wanted to be a paleontologist for a long time.
Okay.
I was super obsessed with dinosaurs.
So
but if I could have one job for one day now.
Just to try it out. Just to see what it's all about. Like a police officer or a fireman or a mailman or a stripper or something.
None of the above. Probably I'd like to do my dad's job maybe.
And what does he do?
He's works for a solar power company as an engineer, and he designs solar collectors and installs solar fields and stuff places. But my dad, he's super science minded, and I'd like to just be my dad at work for a day. I'm curious what he does, like what makes him tick.
That would
or anybody whose mind is so opposite as mine.
Just to kind of experience something that you can't experience already. Rufus.
That's a hard question to be put on the spot about, man.
No.
There's lots of cool things to do in the world.
Cool jobs.
I mean, maybe a professional surfer probably would be cool. Like a guy just soul surfer. Stripper sounded like it'd be a wild lifestyle.
Just for a day, just to try it out, see what a male stripper's all about.
Maybe a high-class escort to older women.
Again, just for...
You just meet so many weirdos. Not even weirdos, but to have a job that's on the fringes of society as far as what's acceptable. It's interesting to see where people come from to seek out the products the goods or services that you're selling. And also, if it's a shady thing you're selling, to see all the types of people from every walk of life, just how they're dealing with doing something that's bad. Bad's not the right word.
What's your all-time favorite movie?
Kostagwe, the Samurai, Jim Jarmusch.
Wow, never...
Second, Hype Williams' Belly.
Never heard of that film. Pretty good?
Both of those are ew. Third is Royal Tenenbaums. Bottle Rocket is third.
That's a good film.
I like to rap about Digna's jumpsuits quite a lot.
Do you watch a lot of movies? I mean, are you a big movie film person or?
At times for sure, but I don't regularly watch a lot of films.
Do you ever watch movies or films while you're creating art, or is it more music? Or do you like silence?
Sometimes silence is good. I like old Art Bell reruns, conspiracy talk radio, more like ancient civilizations than like New World Order stuff.
So like a really conspiracy theorist
Well, no,
type.
I'm not trying to get into the fear-mongering side of all of it. I'm more interested in like giant red-haired skeletons and megalithic structures in South America, like all these walls that are 10 and 20 ton rocks that fit together like puzzles and are earthquake-proof. And the Inca didn't know who built them. They said they were there when they got there.
Are you so pretty big like documentaries? Do you watch many documentaries?
Tons.
Like on Netflix?
I like documentaries a lot.
Share something about yourself that people listening, people that might know you, share something about yourself that people wouldn't expect.
When I was like 15 or 16, my mom and dad got separated briefly. And my mom was all like, I'm going to start a new life in California. And so we moved out there, and I really liked where I was from. And so I didn't get along with people that well, and I was getting beat up at school or whatever. And then I saw this dojo down the street, and all the kids were beating the shit out of me. I saw them doing karate. And I went in and I was like, yo, I want to get on that karate tip. And they were like, no, you're a clown. You can't. Just so happened, my mom knew this old guy who taught karate. And he was all like, oh, yeah, I'll teach the kid. because Mom's was hella worried about me. And so I went over and thought I was going to learn karate, and this dude had me paint and sand his deck and shit. And I went over to quit one night, but he was super faded, and it was his birthday, but his wife had died, and I didn't know what to do, but then he couldn't even stand up. And then he sat down and killed a fly out of midair with these chopsticks. I couldn't believe it happened. He taught me karate, though. I beat the kids who beat me up. I had a pretty good Halloween costume that year. I went as this shower.
I was following the story, and I'm like, this sounds like a movie here. No. And we were talking about some other local artists. Share some.
That wasn't made for these times. Hashtag Robin Banks.
Who are some of, I know we were talking about some other great local artists, some other favorite local artists that you wanted to mention. Who are some other local artists that people need to kind of keep an eye out on?
John Andrews, a.k.a. Swayze, a.k.a. Godspeed the Messenger.blogspot.com. Well, Sri Whipple, still, he's going harder than... Sri is one of the guys who I saw his stuff and I was like, yo, you can make art full-time in Salt Lake City. And he's still going harder than ever. Sri's the best. The artist Christian Michaels, good. Shouts out Ty Conkett, Oyster Pirates, represent. Cameron Bentley, Brian Taylor, Justin Nelson Cruz, Evan Jed Maymont, Robin Banks, at Dusk Raps.
That's a good list. I mean, I'll have to check out. I'm going to go back and listen to that.
Just mostly the crew, everybody at Copper Palate. Copper Palate has an Instagram. It's at Copper Palate Press. And we're on Facebook too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And I'll get all those links. And how can people find you? Let's get the links before.
I'm at Trevor J Dopp on Instagram and trevorjdopp.bigcartel.com.
And then you're on Tumblr.
Yeah, it's trevorjdopp.tumblr.com. All the links are on my Instagram.
And before we close out the recording, let's you mentioned you had a show coming up in April. Do you want to talk about that at all quick?
Third Friday of April. It'll be a bunch of new stuff and a bunch of old stuff.
Okay.
But it's all me.
And where is that going to be?
All TJD at CPP. Copper Palate Press.
Right behind Feist there.
Of April. And down the alley by the gun store.
Gallery Stroll and
I'd like to plug Gallantson's Gun Shop also.
They're pretty good gun shop.
If you about your Second Amendment rights, holla at those boys.
Anything else you want to add, Trevor, before we close out here, before we end the recording? I appreciate you sitting down and getting to know you better, and I'm going to put all the links for people to check out your art on
I got to do a snowboard graphic recently.
Really? For who?
It's a company that this legend in snowboarding, Chris Roach, started called D-Day. And it's a pro model snowboard for Laura Haydar. She's one of she started Feist, one of the founders of Feist, the boutique in front of Copper Palate. But I got to do all the illustrations for both the top sheet and the base. And yeah.
Was that pretty recent here?
Yeah, a month ago I did the illustration work, and I think it comes out this fall. I don't know how.
Oh, so it hasn't even been released yet.
I think it's in production now, maybe. But I was real happy. I mean, that's been something I've wanted to do forever.
And are you going to did you put that graphic on your Tumblr or anything yet?
It's on both. It's on all my social networks.
Instagram and
I spit 140 on Twitter too at the same name at Trevor J Dopp.
Yeah, which I can't highly recommend people enough to follow this guy.
I like jokes.
Yeah, Twitter's a fun outlet. I wish.
Well, you got to be clever to say some funny shit in that few of words.
I wish more people would use Twitter.
Yeah, same.
A lot of people start Twitter accounts and then they just die.
They got 3 or 4 tweets a year ago.
Yeah, it's like, fuck, come on, post something,
Let's bring Vine back too. Vine is superior to Instagram's video. 6 seconds on loop is genius.
I never got into Vine. I should probably start an I Am Salt Lake Vine.
Yeah, let's get back on Vine.
Instagram.
Shouts out to the lesser known social networks. Champion for the underdogs.
You definitely are. Anti-Facebook, but you'll get on the Vine and the Instagram and...
I wouldn't say... I'm not trying to be anti anything. It's just Facebook concerns me a little bit.
Do you care to share what concern?
Oh, Jordan Utley too, artist I love and respect.
Another local artist.
Jordan Utley he's a filmmaker, and he's the OG goth, at least of our generation. No, that's my goth homie though. Big love.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you sitting down, Trevor. And we'll have to catch up down the road. I look forward to your art show in April, and I'll get all the show notes on this episode.
Cool.
And
third Friday, y'all.
All right, that's going to do it for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. Many thanks to Trevor for sitting down with me and allowing the rest of Salt Lake City to get to know him a little bit better. Check out his big cartel store. Follow him on Twitter. Follow him on Instagram. I'm going to put all those links on the show notes for this episode at iamsaltlake.com/132. And if you want to be a guest on a future episode of the podcast, drop me an email or call up the voicemail. You can find that at iamsaltlake.com. Let me know what you're doing. Let me know what you're doing here in Salt Lake City, and I'd love to bring you on a future episode of the podcast. I'm here every Monday. I got a brand new episode out, so you're going to want to make sure to subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher Radio. You can also find us on the Mediocre Radio Network. And subscribe. That way you don't miss a single episode. You can support the show. There's a few ways you can support it. You can give us a one-time donation. That helps keep the podcast going and helps keep it alive and is very much appreciated. You can find that at iamsaltlake.com/donate. If you have not left an iTunes review, go on over to the iTunes link that you find on the website. Leave us a review. And that helps boost our ratings and gets us exposed to more people, and more people find out about the podcast. You can also share any links of any of your favorite episodes with your family and friends on your favorite social media site, any message boards, Reddit, however you guys spend your time on the internet. Feel free to share any of the episodes of I Am Salt Lake. Hey, I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for your continual support. I'm loving doing the podcast. I'm loving showing off Salt Lake City, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the ride as well. I'm going to end the episode with a song by Dusk Raps, like I promised in the beginning. The name of the track is The Whole Damn World. You can actually find that on his Bandcamp site, which you can find at music.duskraps.com. Download it for free right there from the website, and check out Dusk Raps on episode 126 if you haven't had the opportunity to listen to that interview that I had with him. So anyways, this is The Whole Damn World by Dusk Raps. Thanks for listening.
Lead foot, motorhead, I'm the ace of spades. Live life on the edge of a razor blade. Go on and lay in the bed you made. Pull a card like a pin from my hand grenade. Back to the gritty Wasatch grid I'm living in. No static, nomadic citizen. Chromatic color spin. Cro-magnon urge, let the drums begin. Run right with the wind. Let sunlight in. Let life suspend. Of mice and men, let the right one in. I just follow my gut till my time's at it. And it's all cause and effect. Analyze it again. Revolt till you like the results. All I see is lightning bolts. Lucky for you folks, we brought lifeboats. There's a choir in the sky and they hit right notes like me with eyes closed. Guess they like my jokes. Rookie card in my spokes, and everybody's pitching in for a sack to smoke. We used to laugh and joke, have a reason, no. At least we're still breathing when the season's cold. Blame the whole damn world, it's a crying shame. Ooh, I bet it hurts when you're dying vain. Lift me up so high that I fly away. Ain't nobody taking my smile today. Blame the whole damn world, it's a crying shame. Ooh, I bet it hurts when you're dying vain. Lift me up so high that I fly away. Ain't nobody taking my smile today. They only wanna live here when the house is on fire. These ladies out here made the manners retire. No reaction, never crack the surface willingly. Really bleed, really succeed. Fully manifest ability. Wipe off that makeup, girl. Now be real with me. Be ghost or be built severely. No one said that I could visit. I'm acting like I live here. Damn, we're staying together like there's kids here. Didn't expect to change forever, but I did this year. I made a mess with technology. Look, mom, I made a monster. As I create, I conquer. The concert lasts longer. See the big tree swing my axe a lot stronger. Old girl calling, upgraded and forgot her. Develop new science, it's applied in your honor. The voodoo shines through. What do? Your time is a tool. Ain't no parachutes in this flight school.